As we approach the 21st century, a new means of communication is emerging. This technology uses computer networks to link people on every continent. If we are destined to live in a global village, one day we will all be connected to the Internet.
Okay, some people describe the Internet as the prototype for the information superhighway, but I just don't get it. You know, this information superhighway stuff sounds like a lot of super hype to me.
Well, of course it...
Hey, watch it, John. Some of my best friends are geeks. Oh, John, watch that.
Oh.
You know, just because we're talking about the Internet and the data superhighway doesn't mean we've got to bore people with talk of on-ramps and off-ramps and all that stuff.
Of course not. Let's just say it's a way to connect to people all over the world. You can learn new things, you can have fun, you can use resources in faraway places.
John, hold the wheel.
Sorry. Are you ready?
Gosh, I guess so. John, that's our exit.
Great.
Now, at some points, we might find ourselves lapsing into the jargon of the Internet. And if we do that, don't worry. We affectionately call it geek speak.
When we do, we'll sound the nerd alert.
And that's when we'll explain in plain English what we're talking about. For example, a nerd is someone whose life is focused on computers and technology. But a geek is someone whose life is focused on computers and technology and likes it that way.
But I'm partial to some Internet comic strips. Some people call them net-toons. Here's one of my favorites called Dr. Fun.
Hey, John, I saw you write that address down. Don't lie. We have a lot of other neat things to show you, including how you can pick up free software for your computer.
Oh, this isn't a hard one. An internaut is someone who travels the Internet, boldly going where, well, millions of people have gone before. An internaut is the cyberspace equivalent of an astronaut.
Cyberspace was a term invented by a science fiction writer to describe a fictional environment where computers and people lived and worked together.
Now that we've come in for a landing, when internauts are online, what's their favorite activity?
Now, I bet that's a rhetorical question, and now you're just going to have to tell us, right?
That's what I'm here for.
Now, I can bring up my mail here, and you can see I have a message from a coworker who wants to see if there's a day next week I can fly in for the budget review meeting. Well, I hate budgeting. Sorry, I have the flu. Maybe he'll buy it. And he should be getting it right about now. Now he knows when I want to meet with him, which is definitely not next week or anytime soon, and it all happened within a minute or two. And that is that your computer screen may look a lot different from what we've shown you here.
Light up this message, and it says, Gina says she's too sick to come to the meeting. Can you come instead? Well, how about that?
People like email because it changes the way they communicate for the better.
One of my favorite parts of the Internet is Usenet. Let's say you're into world travel, or bird watching, or making beer.
Or ancient civilizations, or talking about parent-teen relationships, or maybe you're into nude sunbathing.
I hoped you weren't going to mention that. Someone's wondering how many telephone companies own cross-continental telephone lines, and they have an estimate here. Now I can go through and find a few more messages. Now I actually think I happen to know the answer, that the number of transcontinental telephone lines is 42. Maybe it's right, maybe it's not, but I want to tell everyone.
One thing you should know is that censorship is not a part of the Internet culture. In fact, technically speaking, it's pretty much impossible. That's why the Internet might contain some material that seems offensive to you, and it also explains why you might get spammed.
Now, spam, as we all know, is a meat-related food product. But on the Internet, spamming means sending thousands of copies of the same message to people all over Usenet. Now, some people have done it in the mistaken belief that it's an effective way to advertise, but take it from me, it's not.
So because there's no censorship, you may find some news groups devoted to topics you'll find offensive. And the easy answer to this is just don't read them, or at least don't look at their pictures.
I don't think there is a complete list of anything on the net. Chat is mostly used for gossiping, which can be fun, but some of the people whose job it is to keep computer servers up and running regard chat as a computer resource hog and not very useful. Well, hey, it's time to take a break. And the Internet has some serious time-wasting fun available. Let's take a look at this one. I'm on a bus. The driver announces that smoking is prohibited and punishable by a fine of several $100s. Suddenly a baby starts crying. Come on, kid, you're 6 months old. You can make it without a cigarette.
Oh.
Well, tastes vary, but you get the idea.
Has anyone ever said you live in a fantasy world? Maybe you remember a game called Dungeons and Dragons. Is that this fantasy world is in your own head. In reality, you're only typing words on a computer screen. Just keep telling yourself that, no matter what.
Some like their fizzy water so much that they have engaged in some serious time wasting and created online soda machines. If you're a serious hacker, you want to know if the machine is out of your favorite beverage, or maybe you've set up a charge account so that even if you're out of change, you can still buy a cold one.
Messages written in all caps are taken as though you're shouting.
That seems awfully rude. And speaking of rude, there's flaming.
Flaming. Unusually pointless and excessive outrage in electronic mail has become so common that it's now got its own name, flaming. If you receive an angry message, you've been flamed. Unfortunately, a few people seem to enjoy sending these kinds of messages. One common mistake that newbies make all the time is to remember, lurking is good. You can type what we call a smiley. Here's one. Now just turn your head sideways and you can see how it works.
Now, if what you really want is to find and get cool stuff like free software on the internet, well, you might need a Gopher, or maybe Archie. And if you like Archie, you should definitely get to know Jughead and Veronica University.
Gopher space. Download.
Don't you think that horn is a little bit loud?
It's obnoxious.
Oh.
Many computers are willing to let anyone look at some of their files, and on these computers, you may log in as anonymous.
Another cool way to find stuff on the net is to use the World Wide Web, or as it's sometimes called, the web, or WWW.
Hypertext. We've been telling you how cool the internet is, but there are some problems you should be aware of. Earlier we mentioned the phenomenon of flaming, where people hiding behind the anonymity of the internet tend to go overboard in expressing their outrage. Well, there are a few people who use that anonymity to lie about who they are, and even to engage in illegal acts.
But that's a tiny minority of the people on the net. Okay, so what if you want to join the intrepid band of internauts as they search for the golden fleece of cyberspace?
The golden fleece of cyberspace?
I mean, what if they want to get on the net?
The internet is a work in progress. We can't tell you everything about it because it's changing every day.
That's right. In fact, the best advice we can give you is get on it and start exploring.
Let's go.